Um, what do you think about a lot of people are talking about the GLP-1s and the appetite appetite suppressant drugs that are on the market now. What's your general opinion on those?
I think that given the number of overweight and obese people we have in our country and worldwide, and the culture of eating that we have, that you feed into, Mr. Raymond.
Yeah, it's my fault.
It's
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 for
entirely you.
sure.
So look at Duce for this one. He's the reason we need these drugs.
Yeah.
But no. All kidding aside, I think they're a godsend. I think that the blunt instruments that we had before, like people taking basically amphetamine derivatives
Right.
to try to lose weight, and more caustic appetite suppressants like smoking cigarettes, or like just drinking incredible amounts of caffeine to try and numb their appetite. um, these drugs are a godsend. They're going to save tons of lives. They're generally safe and effective. I know we need longer term trials to see exactly how safe, but they're a lot safer than carrying around 200 or 300 extra pounds of fat and having a heart attack or getting cancer, or just,
Mm-hmm.
barely being able to walk around because your knees and your ankles hurt so much. You're carrying all that extra weight. You know, Not being able to be as social as you like because it's just tough to get around. I think that they're fantastic, and I think they're only going to improve.
Do you feel like there's a negative stigma about them, or because this is what people think is like, oh, they're doing it with Ozempic. They didn't put in the hard work, or they didn't do everything I did to lose the weight. Why do you think there is that opinion out there?
Well, I think that on a certain level, it's viewed as simply an issue of discipline, or
Mm-hmm.
say intestinal fortitude. Anyone who's not able to control what they're eating is somehow weak, or some people even feel immoral, like they're gluttons.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you have to take a look at about 70% of our population and say, well, I guess they're just all weak and immoral. That's not true. That's not true
Yeah.
at all. Some of these people are some of the hardest working, most wonderful people you'd ever want to know, and have incredible discipline in other areas of their life. They just
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of cultural norms and genetics working against them. I mean, just think about it this
Is it
way.
true that certain people or different people with different genetics have different food drive?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
the urge to eat is stronger in different people.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And actually, a funny thing to think about is even though people can have faster or slower metabolisms, the main determinant as far as how much you're going to weigh really comes down to how much you eat. So you may know folks who say, oh, they just eat whatever they want and they stay skinny.
Hmm.
One, they could be walking like 20,000 steps a day, and you only saw them eat that junk food during maybe one or two meals. You don't know
Hmm.
what their total calorie expenditure and calorie intake is. And also, very often, they're just not that hungry. Most of the people that
Hmm.
I know that are not tracking their food, that stay naturally skinny, they don't think much of food at all.
Right.
And when they eat, they're very quickly satisfied.
Yeah.
Um, for me personally, for me to maintain my weight at any given time, I have to weigh and track what I eat,
Yeah.
or I just start gaining weight immediately. And it's because I'm always hungry, always.
Yeah.
I'm just always hungry. You give me 1,000 calorie meal, I want another 1,000 calories. It's almost never enough. I have to eat until I am stuffed to
Yeah.
feel full. So for me, maintaining a healthy level of body fat is something I have to commit to a process of being mindful about what I do for the rest of my life. And I find that the small annoyance of having to do that is way less annoying than me walking around at 270 or 300 pounds.
Yeah. It's
Just for me,
crazy.
just for me.
I mean, something that I think about with the what do you call them? Semi-glutide or GLP-1s, or what's your
GLP-1 agonists, and there are a few different
agonist?
flavors out there. Semaglutide, tirzepatide, a few others. They have brand names like Mounjaro. You guys might
Right.
have heard of. Yeah, and there'll be
Wegovy.
more rolling out. They're
Yeah.
working on them because they're efficacious.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing I struggle with when I think about those is that they are basically appetite suppressant. They tell you not to eat as much. But a lot of times when I am overeating, I'm not necessarily hungry. It's just because it's, I'm stress eating, or it's part of my pattern, or I come home from work and it's like part of I like instantly want to eat when I get home from work, because it's like I'm drawn to, that's like part of my pattern, going to the pantry and grab whatever I'm grabbing that I'm not supposed to be eating.
So one of the interesting things about these drugs, and I'm not advocating for everyone to take these things, okay?
Sure.
But I do think at a population level, a lot of researchers, a lot of well-intentioned nutritionists, doctors, there are armies of people trying to help out and get people not just moving, but down to a healthy, sustainable weight. We have failed. At the population level, we have failed and are continuing to fail. So if lifestyle intervention alone was going to do it, for the majority of people, it would have done so by now. We know what needs to be done. The problem is we have all these social engagements and habits that we've built up over the course of our lives in a culture that is all about eating all the time. I mean, think about any event that you go to, a football game, a bar mitzvah, a birthday party, drinks after dinner with friends, a first date, a wedding. Everything is the reason you have a job. Everything, catering, everything is based around food, right? And that's not a bad thing, though. I mean, it's not it's not necessarily a bad thing, because everything was kind of based around food for a long time, too. I mean, you look at something on TV about the Vikings; they can't wait to have their big feast together and celebrate. So that's not new. What is new is that it's cheap, available, and really, really delicious and not very filling. And everything we do is about it, and there's lots of marketing material about it. And even this evening, I'm going to a company Christmas party. It's at a restaurant. And hell, we could have gone bowling. We could have gone played mini golf. We could have done any number of other things. There's plenty to do in New York City. And we're just going to sit down in a restaurant and people are going to eat and drink.
Right.
Which is fine, but that's just when it's always that, and that's always the situation you're in, and everything from the menu to the waitress to your friends are pushing for more. Well, guess what's going to happen? I mean, it's, you go to a barber shop, eventually you're going to get a haircut.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
Mini golf is a good alternative because you got to have the club in your hand the whole time, so you can't be holding a Big Mac or something else in your hand.
But going back to what you said as far as stigma for people that have had success and think that it's cheating or a shortcut,
yeah.
What I would say is this: we all have different capacities. I went to school with some really smart kids, and a lot of them excelled in mathematics and physics, and I was okay. For any grade that I did well on, I had to work exceptionally hard for a long time. And some kids would just flip through the textbook the night before and sit down and ace an exam.
Right.
I had to work a lot harder to get the same or a lesser result. When it comes to weight loss and muscle building, it is very much like that. Some people just inherently have better impulse control, which is why some people become addicts and some people don't. For some people, a drink is just a drink. My mom, she'll have one glass of wine. She's like, oh my God. Oh, that's so much. I can't. I'm done. She gets flushed. She's finished. And it's not even that pleasurable for her.
Right.
You give me, one glass of whiskey, I want the bottle.
Right.
I don't know where that came from. But again, there it is. So we just have to work with what we got. And I guess a lot of people who don't understand, you're not inside someone else's body or their head. You don't feel their feelings. It could be when someone is very, very stressed, the only thing, as far as they know, as a coping mechanism is going to be putting a lot of food in their face to get that bad feeling to go away. For another people, it's going for a run. For some people, it's meditation. So I think one of the things is, if you are even using these drugs, just putting the food down in those situations, it may be a start, but it has to be replaced by something else. Something has to fill that hole inside other than just consumption, which can be very challenging if we've never considered other alternatives.
Yeah, that's a big topic for sure. Yeah. And there's a lot, I mean, I've also often thought a lot of what we talk about is more psychological than it is physical, because there is such a mind component to at least my issue with food and staying healthy.